Hello, hello, Redline Logbook here to talk about Eden Zero, Chapter 174, title, Mind Getting Out of the Way. Okay, so the cover page is Sister in complete ecstasy as she's tied up in a jail surrounded by S&M toys. Honestly, I don't know how they got away with this, but I am impressed that they did. So the chapter starts out with how most shonen start out after a time skip, where they basically crush whatever opposing enemy there is because of how much stronger they got after the time skip. This happens all the time. The Fisherman Pirates in One Piece were crushed by the Straw Hats after the time skip. In Dragon Ball, Dr. Gero and Android 19 were crushed by the Z Fighters after the 3-year time skip when that happened. It's a pretty common shonen trope. The Unfortunate Souls, whose job it is to show how much stronger the crew of the Eden Zero has gotten, is a member of the Original Seis Interstellar Feather and her crew. Unfortunately, for the most of the crew, you don't really get to see much difference. They just wipe out the fodder as they normally do with their ether gear. But you do get to see a change when it comes to Pina, Rebecca, and Happy. Pina can now control where she aims her EMP so she doesn't hit her allies. She can now aim at other robots, people's ether gear, really anything. At the moment, she's currently aiming at the guns that are being used by Feather's army to make it easier for the rest of the crew to fight. Happy can now fight on his own, where a gun, which is the size of his body, comes out of his body, even though that doesn't make sense, and now he can basically fire ether bullets without Rebecca's help. And the last person who we get to see power up is Rebecca, who apparently can use overdrive now. She grows cat ears and a cat tail, which resemble exactly like her cosplay she wears whenever she's doing one of her videos. The only difference is now she has side boob. So yeah, that's something to be happy about. Unfortunately, we don't get to see how this upgrades her power. Like, originally, Cat Leaper gave her the ability to basically be the fastest character in the group. But now, I don't know what it does. Does it increase her speed even greater? Can she move as fast as Quicksilver, where no one can see her and she can basically screw around with people? Or does it increase her time abilities? That is not shown here. It just shows her kicking people in the face. Personally, I'm hoping this gives her like a time teleporting ability, where she can teleport basically 5 to 10 minutes into the future, so she ends up where she would have been if she just ran normally. I think that would be extremely cool. Now, while we didn't get to see Rebecca's new ability with her overdrive, we did get to see one, if not two, new abilities that characters have. The first one is revealed by Feather. The ability is called Ether Connect, which allows you to share your ether ability with other characters. Feather shares her ether gear Eyes of God with the rest of her army. They all start glowing with ether gear, and they all are able to see slightly into the future like she can. Now, what I would like to know, if this is an ability only the Eyes of God can use, or can anyone with ether gear use this ability? Because if they can, then why doesn't everyone just use it? I mean, think about it. An army of ether gear users, even if it's limited and they can't use overdrive, could still easily crush any other army that doesn't have ether gear. And I know most people don't care about fodder, but when fodder takes on other fodder, you want to have the stronger fodder. That's just how army battle works, even in shonen. I mean, we're about to invade Ziggy's factory, and Elsa and her entire fleet are going to be there with us. Wouldn't be helpful if you gave Elsa's fodder a bunch of ether gear abilities from the Eden Zero crew, except for Rebecca's, of course, because you don't want to give some random person time abilities. Even if it has a time limit on itself, that would still be devastatingly dangerous to give to anyone. But giving people with gravity powers, or wind abilities, or the mecha ability, like, this would be extremely useful in an army against robots that can literally just keep making more robots. As for the second ability that might have been revealed, it's when Feather was unable to predict Shiki's moves and he ends up on top of her and just freezes her in place. She thinks to herself that this has never happened to her before, that she's always been able to track people, which tells me this probably has something to do with Shiki's gravity ability. Back when Ziggy and Nero were fighting, Ziggy was able to catch and then crush the relic dice that Nero was using, the same relic dice that were imbued with some of Mother's power. Ziggy says that the dice are nothing but matter and they cannot resist gravity. In fact, no matter can resist gravity. And then he was then able to steal Nero's ether gear ability. What if the reason why Shiki was able to get a jump up on Feather was because he used his gravity to basically zap away at her ether gear? If Ziggy really has the ability to just cancel out other people's ether gear, and now Shiki has that ability, this is the most broken power to have in the entire story, even more than Cat Leaper, really. Also, Ziggy stole Nero's power right after he killed him, which means he's probably done it before, and who knows just how many powers Ziggy has. And the last thing to mention is that the captain is officially joining the crew. This is not a surprise at all. I kind of expected him to join, but I just think it's really cute the way Pina was really happy. It's a cute panel. Okay, that is it for this week's chapter of Eden Zero. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, so you can get more videos on Eden Zero and other anime things. Thank you, and goodbye.